All right. Today we're going to read chapter 9. It begins on page 83 and it's entitled Reuben. He'd been in this house for 3 months, but nothing was unpacked. Almost nothing. The big bed was set up, made, and comfortable, so he spent a lot of time on it, grading papers, eating off his lap, and watching the news. He made his way through the sea of boxes to the kitchen, took a small carton of ice cream out of the freezer, and proceeded to eat standing up, right out of the carton with a plastic spoon, the cat weaving around and through his legs. It made him feel lonely. But then, so did unpacking. The phone rang and proved difficult to find. It was Trevor. Is it okay that I called you at home? I got the number from information. Is something wrong, Trevor? Are you in some kind of trouble? Is your mother there? It's nothing like that. I'm okay. It's just my project. It's not going so good at all. It just got a lot worse. Something bad happened. Can I talk to you about it? Well, of course you can, Trevor. Good. Where do you live? Reuben left the receiver. Reuben let the receiver slip down and looked around. Maybe I could meet you somewhere, Trevor, like the park or the library. It's okay. I'll ride my bike over. Where do you live? So Reuben gave him the address on Rosita, just off San Anselmo, thinking they could talk on the front porch. To be extra safe, he called Trevor's mother, who was listed in the phone book, to explain where Trevor would be and why. She wasn't home, and Reuben had no idea if she worked on Saturdays, but he left a message on her answering machine, just in case. Trevor dumped his bike on its side on Reuben's lawn. Reuben realized he had never seen Trevor upset, so far as he knew. He stood on the bottom porch step in khaki shorts and a 49ers t-shirt. Mrs. Greenberg died. I'm sorry, Trevor, he said, offering the boy a straight-backed chair on the porch. Come sit down and tell me about her. Who was she to you? She was my project. She was like my last chance. Then he stopped himself, as if ashamed, and took the chair offered him. That didn't sound right. I didn't mean I was upset about my project when she died and all. It's not that. It's both. I mean, she really was going to pay it forward. She told me, and then she died. I went over to her house this morning. I always take the paper right up to her door. But the last couple days, it's like she's not home. But she's always home, so today it was Saturday, so I just waited. And then the mailman came and he said she hadn't taken the mail out of her box for 3 days. He said her monthly check was in there, and it wasn't like her not to get it right away. So then we knocked on her neighbor's door, and they called her son, and he came over and opened the door. And she was in bed, just like she was sleeping. Only she wasn't sleeping. She was dead. Trevor stopped for a breath. I'm sorry, Trevor. That must have been hard for you. The project is almost due. Jerry got arrested. He wouldn't even come out when we went to visit. My mom still thinks my daddy is going to come back. The whole thing is a bust, Mr. Sinclair. I'm not sure I follow the part about your mother. He halfway did, but hoped Trevor might elaborate. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. But what am I going to do for my project? Reuben shook his head. It hurt to watch a boy lose his idealism, almost as much as it hurt when he lost his own. I guess you just report your effort. I'm grading on effort, not results. I wanted results. I know you did, Trevor. He watched the boy pick at a seam on the cuff of his shorts. I didn't just want a good grade. I really wanted the world to get better. I know you did. It's a tough assignment. That's part of its lesson, I'm afraid. We all want to change the world, and sometimes we need to learn that it's harder than we think. I really do feel bad about Miss Greenberg, though. She was a nice lady. I don't think she was really old. I mean, sort of old, but not that old. We used to talk. Reuben looked up to see an old green Dodge Dart pull up to the curb and Arlene McKinney step out. He watched her march up the walkway, up the steps to his porch, all outward confidence covering awkward nerves, and it struck him then, for the first time, how much alike they really were. I know you don't like me, she'd said. I know you're looking down on me. So there it was. He acted defensive toward her because he assumed she found him ugly. She acted defensive toward him because she assumed he found her stupid. Now, Trevor, she said, I bet I'll bet Mr. Sinclair's got better things to do than hear about your troubles on a nice Saturday morning. You can talk to me, you know. You weren't home, Trevor. You weren't home. Trevor studied his scuffed high tops. I didn't mind, Miss McKinney. Really, I just wanted to know where he was. Well, I thank you for that, but we'll just be going now. She motioned with a hand for her son, who followed her off the porch obediently. Arlene, he hadn't known he was about to call her back, had never intended to use her first name. She must have been surprised, too. She spun around, looked at him for the longest time, really looked at him, as though seeing something she hadn't seen before, and it made him uncomfortable to feel so transparent. Trevor, wait for me in the car, she said quietly, and rejoined Reuben on the porch. Reuben was no longer sure he could express his revelation. Still, he had no choice but to try. When you first met me, you thought I was looking down my nose at you. I just want you to know something. She waited patiently, face slightly turned up to him. She reflected a pleasant expectance. She didn't dislike him. She just wanted him to like her. It was right there on her face. I have a hard time meeting people. I'm very sensitive about, well, I tend to think I repel people. I mean, I do. But I was being defensive. And that's what I'm trying to say. I wasn't looking down on you. I was being defensive because I thought you were looking down on me. Really? A skinless, unguarded question. Really? Well, thank you. That's nice. She moved to the porch rail, glanced at the car and her waiting son. No, really, that's nice. I appreciate that you told me that. It's kind of funny, really. I mean, here we are being all cold to each other. You don't think I'm dumb, really? You don't think I'm dumb, really? Not at all. I don't talk good like you. Talk well, I mean. I could, I guess. I know how to talk right. I just sort of got out of the habit. Maybe you could come over for dinner again some night. Maybe. Maybe. Reuben felt surprised to hear himself say it. Maybe. Actually, he'd wanted to say no. Now that she had turned her eyes up to him, hopeful and childlike, flattered to win his approval, he could not get far enough away from her. She stared at him for a moment and then marched purposely back to her car and drove off without comment. That should have been a safe, comfortable end to everything, but the following Thursday evening he ran into her at the market, just dropped into a longish line with his ice cream and his TV dinners, and found himself looking at the back of her head. It seemed to Reuben as though one could look at the back of someone's head quietly without being noticed, but apparently he did it wrong because she immediately turned around. Oh, you, she said, and that was it. She turned back and they both waited in excruciating silence, watching Terry and Matt scan and bag groceries. She looked briefly over her shoulder at Reuben on her way out of the store. Then she was gone, and he breathed deeply. A man just having found his way to safety from grave and immediate danger. He found her in the parking lot, leaning on his car. Do you know what your problem is? She said. It was the old Arlene, and it felt good to Reuben to have her back. That little lightning bolt of indignation, all ready to read him the riot act about one thing or another. No, I don't. What is my problem? Well, your problem is you're so quick to think nobody wants you. You don't even give them a shot. I couldn't reject you if I tried. You're just too fast for me. Well, thank you, Arlene. That was very informative. He moved for his driver's door, and she peeled away, out of his path, as he knew she would. He set his groceries on the passenger seat, got in, and slammed the door. But she wasn't gone. She stood by his window as he fired up the little engine, and before he could drive away, she tapped on the glass. He rolled the window halfway down. So, she said, you want to go out or what? Yes and no. Well, what kind of answer is that? The honest kind? What do you want me to say? I want you to say, I'm not busy on Sunday night, Arlene. Maybe you and me could take in a movie or something. Reuben sighed. He put the Volkswagen in gear, popped it out again. Arlene, would you like to go to a movie this Sunday? He didn't mean it to, but it came out sounding petulant, like a boy who'd just been ordered to apologize when he wasn't feeling one bit sorry. Yes, I would, but I bet I'm going to be sorry I ever started with this. I'll put a couple of dollars on that too, Reuben said, but he was half a block away before he said it.